Well, hello, folks. Hey, it's Jamie here, and I hope you are enjoying the final few weeks of summer here, having adventures with your family and friends, and enjoying the sun while we still have it. So I have tried to write my August video message to the friends of our business here for the last few weeks, and frankly, every time I get done with a draft, I find that it's out of date because interest rates have changed, our inventory has changed, prices and reports on real estate prices are changing, inflation numbers are changing, employment forecasts are changing, and economic forecasts are changing, right? And I find that I try to make sure that as your economist of choice for real estate, that we're providing you the most accurate information that we possibly can, right? And so I feel I struggle, but what I find in these days is that we should probably return to bigger wisdom and the big questions before we dive into the data, which is to say, in residential real estate, there are a few key questions, which is, why do people buy, sell, and move? When should they buy, sell, or move? Can they time the market? And how do they build long-term wealth and security for themselves and their families? Well, let's dive right in. So why do people buy, sell, or move? And the simple question over 20 years is not about anything other than when their home no longer meets what they need because their family has grown, because their family has shrunk, because their job has moved, or whatever that need might be, when their home no longer meets their need, that's a why. Also, when their home no longer meets their wants, it could be that it's something very pleasant has happened, right? They've gotten a job promotion, they've gotten an inheritance, their investments have increased to get them not just what they need in life, but what they truly want, and now is the time to invest in that, right? So those are the big whys. The other why that we hear, especially from those who are renting, are building security for themselves and their family, just to have self-determination, not having to worry about, will a landlord raise rent? Will a landlord want to sell the property and move them out, right? And what will they be able to do with that property to express themselves, right, and their vision in life? And then the final one, and that's the really interesting thing, whether it's our clients or whether we're reading market research, what we find is that really the final motivation, despite what people might say at cocktail parties about real estate, their final motivation is about building wealth, because with residential real estate, the home that you inhabit as your own, right, oftentimes that's the fringe benefit. It's extraordinarily powerful, but it's a fringe benefit. So the question is, and the final thing is building legacy, right? For those of us who own real estate and get to the end of our lives, the opportunity to leave that real estate to people or things or organizations that we care about is very, very powerful in extending our legacy. So the question is, when do we do this? And frankly, the truth is very simple as well. When we need to. When our life has changed so that our home no longer meets our needs. The other question is when our life has changed in a very positive way, when we want to, when the opportunity has come where it's not just a need and kind of forced on us, but it's an opportunity to do this at our own pace. And I know for us, we like to make sure that our clients can afford to, because despite how wonderful a home can be, if you can't afford it and it causes you to lose sleep, well, gosh, it's probably not worth it even for a view or for a waterfront or whatever might light your heart up, right? So that's part of what we do in being consultants, is to help you look at how can you afford it today and tomorrow. And with that in mind, one of our metrics to help keep you safe and build that long-term wealth and legacy is looking at having a 5 to 10 year ownership window. And what we mean by that is you don't have to live in that property for 5 to 10 years. You just need to be able to own it. And by doing so, having that window, what we know over 70 years of economic data, you're going to be able to experience, outlast, and make a profit from any market cycle that has happened, including the most recent 2008 cycle. So what about timing the market? Now, what I'll tell you is if I could time the market, I probably wouldn't be speaking to you today. I really love my job, but the lure of a frosty drink on a sailboat somewhere where I can see through the water would probably get too much of me if I've timed the market over the last 20 years. And the interesting thing is when you read the Buffett bet, Warren Buffett being one of the most prolific and successful investors in history, and him going out there and saying that he is rare and people like him are rare and much of his success is skill and some of it is luck. right? When he goes out there and shows that the market itself will outlast and outperform almost every other investor out there, right, just by investing and staying invested, that's something that I believe, right? And I also believe that there's success bias in the reporting that we hear about timing the market, that most of the articles that we hear talk about the people who've been successful, who have gotten it right, but they don't talk about the hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people who didn't get it right, some of which didn't get it right down to bankruptcy, and some of which who didn't get it right, and it just changed the course of their lives. If they don't own a home, or they don't have $1 million and they just have 100,000, something like that, right? But over time, what we know is that hindsight is 20/20, right? That we only know when we've crested a market, when we can look back and see that it's a crest. We've only known where we've hit the bottom of a market when we can look back and see that it's the bottom, right? When we're in it and we're moving forward, we can't see those things. So what do? We look at the tried and true aspects of building wealth and security with real estate, which is as simple as compound interest, the idea of investing early and letting it grow over time, and that growth just continues to become an exponential over time, and then the beauty of leverage of real estate, the idea that for most of us when we purchase real estate, we can put $5 in for every $100 we invest, or $10, that 5%, 10%, 20% down payment, and then we have a mortgage payment that is affordable that is frankly in many cases less than what we would rent, right? So again, it's that fringe benefit of creating great wealth over a long period of time. Now I know in today's market people are very concerned about building wealth and security when it comes to interest rates because they're higher than what they have been. They're still lower than what they've been on average over the last 40 to 50 years. That average is close to 7.5%. However, right now, when we're experiencing rates that are 5.5%, 5.75%, and might even get to 6%, right? We look at that and look back at 3% and 4% rates and say, gosh, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Now, the interesting thing is one of two things is going to happen as we move forward, right? If you were to go out and get a 6% mortgage in tomorrow's market, right, one of two things is going to happen. Either 6 months from now, interest rates are going to be 6.5%, and you're going to be thankful and looking pretty golden, or interest rates will have dropped to 5.5% or 5%, or I highly doubt it, but they might get down to 4.5%, right? And if that happens, generally, for a relatively low cost, you can refinance, get yourself into a 30-year mortgage at that lower rate, and do one of two things. Either save on your monthly payment in a very dynamic way, or keep your same mortgage payment and pay off your mortgage sometimes 10, 15 years early, right? So that's how you can hedge this market and build security and wealth with refinances. So I've talked now for 8 minutes, and really what I could have done, and maybe should have done, is just given you a quote from Mark Twain, which is, don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. It's as simple as that, right? So if you've got questions about today's market, if you've got questions about whether your home meets your needs, whether your home meets your dreams or wants, and whether you can afford to do what you want to do in this market, we would love it if you'd give us a call, send us an email, or send us a text. We'd love to sit down with you and just see, is today the right